Welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again. This is day 5, and we're going to get a little funky today. So make sure you grab your A flute. If you don't have an A flute, that's A-OK. But we're going to be doing some technique today. I've got a number of things to go over with you in hopes that we'll add some attitude and sass and some bluesy flavor to your playing. And of course, we've got a new promotion for today only to celebrate my birthday, which is now in a few days. It's coming right up. And so I'm going to play for you guys this morning. I'm going to do a little improv on the key of E. And then we'll move into some education time and some promo time. And then if you have your A flute, you can play along with me at the closing of this. But while I play this next section, or this next piece, go ahead and share this with a friend, share it on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you're tuning in from, and let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I see some familiar folks who've been here, I think since day 1, since we started this. I see Brenda and Brent and Andrew and Anthony, Janine, good morning, Kim, Mary Jane, and Peggy, awesome, love to see that. We've got Oregon, Florida, Arizona, Canada, Idaho, all over the place. I love to see this. Love to see how the music can reach. High octane. You need it when you play blues. You don't have to. You don't have to have it, but it's fun. Okay. Well, I'm going to get to play in here, and again, remember to share this with your friends. Here we go. Going to jump right in with some music for this morning. This is another Tom Bailey track. This is one that I licensed, that I was going to release a song in, I believe it was 2019. And I had plans to release songs every month, a new song. And I got busy, as we do, and still have this track available that I can do something with. And I have a song recorded with it, but I never finished mastering it. I never finished releasing it. It's different than what I'll play today. Today I'm just going to have fun, let loose. I love improvising. It's one of the best things to do, especially with native flute. The flute that I'm playing is in the key of E. This is a flute made by John Norris out of ambrosia maple. Ambrosia maple is one of my favorite woods. And it's regular maple, but let's see if I can find it. Yeah, there's like little spots here that have been filled in with turquoise. It's a beetle that gets into the wood and makes all these like gray-brown markings in it. It's kind of like a fungus. So, a beautiful wood. This was a special flute that we did for Johnny's Jolly Days of Christmas a couple of years ago. Some of you have these. So if you have one, maybe you want to play along with me. So here we go. I'll just noodle around a little bit and we'll go from here. Oh, what fun it is to play today. Love this. Thank you. Seeing some more folks rolling in. It's very good. See Denise. Good morning. Keith. Melissa. Four Fingers. Welcome back. Yes, please subscribe, comment, and share. Those things really do help when you can share with your friends, when you can like videos, when you comment on stuff. It really helps us musicians especially get into, this is my joke, so sorry. It helps us get into the best rhythm of them all on the internet, and that is the algorithm. The algorithm is a mysterious thing, but it really helps have our music be heard, have our talent be heard, whatever it is that we're sharing. Cool. So, yes, I see some things. Hi, Hillary. Hi, Judith. Brenda, goosebumps. Andrew says, feeling it. Yeah, blues is something that you internalize, you feel, and once you have some technique down and some control of that technique, you can really unleash that feeling into your music. And so today I want to cover 5 things. Some of these we've already covered. We're covering 5 things that you can add to your flute playing that gives you some of this sass and attitude. Okay, here we go. First one, we're going to start out easy and we're going to build from there. And so the first one is, of course, bending notes. Now, we just had a flute circle inside Horizons Plus. This is something we do twice a month. We have online flute circles with breakout rooms and members only, and we have people from all over the world join, and it's a lot of fun. And this one was geared around blues, so playing the blues. Each flute circle and each Q&A that we do in Horizons, we try to theme it so we can kind of go deep on that subject. And some are like, blues, whatever. And others are like, yeah, love blues. And so we did a lot of this, did a little technique thing at the start of the flute circle to warm people up. So bending notes, this again, we either have a push or a pull, and I know we covered just a couple of days ago on the live stream, bending notes. If you didn't catch that, I think it was on day 1, 2, 3. Yeah. On day 3, we covered lots of different ways to bend. So I'm going to breeze through this one so we can get to the other ones. So bending notes, typically I like to do it right here on the 3rd hole from the bottom or 4th from the top. This is a great place because not only musically when we're playing blues, does this kind of be a great safe place, but also in the way that the flute is designed where you have 3 and 3, this is the last finger on that hand. So you can really get some wrist movement here. So you can push and pull either way that you push, lift, or pull back like this. You can do it on other notes too. This one's really tough because it's what's called a forked fingering, where you have a finger down on either side of that hole, below and above. And so you really have to work. You cannot move your knuckles. You cannot move your wrist. You are kind of stuck. So this one's all about the curving of the finger. Kind of tough to do. This one, again, it's that top finger. And so we can move our wrist a little bit when we get to that. Something you can add to this bending to add a little bit more flavor is that tonguing, and we covered that again in day 3 of these live streams, is that tonguing, especially when you have a beat or a track that you're playing along to and it's got some sort of pulse or rhythm to it, and you want to kind of lock into that as well. That's a great time to use that. So another thing, speaking of bending, there's another technique you can do called rocking, and it's like, so let me start here. The blues scale is pretty much minor pentatonic, which is what our modern native flutes are, minor pentatonic. And with the exception of we add this note in there, which is, it turns it blue. Anything you play, regular scale, just add this note, you've got a little flavor of blues. But if you really want to harness that, something you can do is this fingering is the same as this note half hold. Let me come up closer for you. So this is the same as this. What does this mean, and why is it important? Because if you're playing blues and you want to play that blues note and you're just kind of passing through, I'm tonguing each note. It makes it a little playful. It makes it staccato. But if you want smooth, then bypass this and go for that bend. Because as you bend, guess what? You're coming through that half hole right here, which gives us that blue note. Okay, and I bring that up because when we get to rocking, it's the very same thing. You may have seen me when I played just a minute ago that I was doing some of this. It's like, what is he doing? Well, that's rocking. And what I'm doing is I am pushing down. This is different than bending. Typically when I bend, I'm pushing forward, but this time I'm pushing down. And I have some tension between my index finger and my thumb, and I'm kind of, there's some tension there, so I can wobble a little bit, or I can rock. That sounds very different than. Hear the difference? I mean, notes are the same, but it's how they feel, right? So if you want that little playful, choppy, you can totally do that by adding that blue note. But if you want more finesse and smooth swagger, if you will, if you want that swagger in your sound, it's all about that rocking motion. And much like the bend, how yesterday or a couple days ago I showed you, if you tongue just before you bend, it kind of sets it up as, whoa, that's something. Same thing with this. We can have that gentle kind of rocking. Very slurry. Or we can add some attitude to that as well. Where you tongue just before you rock each time. And this works really well, again, if you're playing to a track and it's got that kind of beat to it. And then you. And the harder that you tongue, there's different levels of tonguing. I'm not going to go into that today. I've got that covered in lots of courses. But if you are very articulate and very almost aggressive with that tonguing, it's going to give you that chatter, that chiff that you're looking for, instead of, like, there's a little bit there, but you may want some of that, right? That flavor, that spice. Okay, so we've covered bending. We've covered rocking. I'm going to actually move some of these around. Next, we're going to go to shading. This is, honestly, I don't know how to classify this, but it sounds really cool. And so we call it shading. And the chat has gone quiet, so I assume that everyone's playing their flutes right now. Let me know if this rocking or bending, if you really like it. If you do it already, or if this is something that you need a little work with, let me know in the chat. So I'm going to move on and go to shading. Shading is great when you're holding out a phrase. This is typically where I'll use it, where if I'm holding that note and I want to do something and a pop just seems like, it's not quite right. Shading sounds like this. Where I like to use 3, sometimes 2 fingers and I'm interfering with the airflow that's coming out of the holes here. Little air comes out of the flute here, as well as the end. And if I can disturb that, it's going to drop the pitch. And we do that if we want to. You can do some of it like fading volume will also take your pitch down. So we can get that. But sometimes the flute gets kind of frail sounding. That's the nature of the beast. It gets kind of wispy and whistly if you don't cut the note off in time. You hear some of that? So if you want to avoid that but still get that pitch down, that kind of fading, then that's where shading comes in. Okay. Now there's another way that you can use this too. Holding that out, and maybe you don't want to do this rocking, but maybe you want to kind of stick with the beat a little bit, right? So again, if you have that beat, it's not quite a finger tap, but you can kind of shade those holes. Play around with that. You're gonna have a new experience, I hope, with this. Okay, so shading. We've got bending notes, rocking, and shading. Okay, so next we're gonna go to. This is genetically impossible for some people, but I want to give you two options. Okay. And for those that are genetically able to do this, you have two things. So we're going to go with rolling tongue, and I'm going to combine that. I'm going to level this up a little bit today. Rolling of the tongue. It helps if your mouth, if your tongue is not very dry, is lubricated. Some of us can do this better. It's like, what do they say? Ruffles have ridges when you roll your R. And we can do that same thing into the flute. But again, you don't want to do it all the time. You want it to have an impact. If you just play with the rolling of the R, it reminds me of being a kid when we had the box fan sitting. And you'd like go up to the back of the fan and you sound like an alien. That's what it sounds like. And you can actually play your flute into the back of a fan, a box fan or a oscillating fan or whatever that has the blades, and you're going to hear a very similar thing, kind of thing. So rolling the tongue, I like to combine with bending, and this is so cool. Right? So you get that rolling of the R, but I like to use it in the bend because it's just enough. It's like almost like the growl of a saxophone in this bluesy, jazzy environment. Okay? There is a growl that you can do too, and this is when you hum into your flute. Those who are working on vibrato work, so if you are in one of my courses learning vibrato, if you've worked with me on vibrato, then you've heard me say this before. As you're working on vibrato, sometimes your vocal cords will get tired and they will connect. I first learned about this when I was in the studio recording 2 days on end. I wasn't hydrated enough. I was stressing my throat, and what was happening, I was hearing this buzzing when I'd play a note. You hear that? It sounds kind of like a kazoo. And that's something that you want to avoid. If you hear that when you're working on vibrato, please pause. Take a break. You don't want to do more damage than good. Okay? But you can also turn this on and have it be an effect, especially when you're playing some bluesy stuff. It's a weird sound. You either love it or hate it. So there are two more options for you. You got rolling of the tongue, or growling, where you just hum as you play along, and you can get as aggressive with that as you'd like. Okay, I see some comments. I'm going to pause here before we go on to our fifth and final technique. Didn't know it had a name, Anthony says. Shading, no problem. Awesome. Brent says, yep, learn your flute so that you can take advantage of its weaker and stronger aspects. Absolutely. Every flute has a different personality, as do we. There are some friends who I like to go out to dinner with, and some I do not. And I think your flutes are the same way. There's certain things you want to do with them and certain things you do not, and it really depends on the flute. Yeah, fun stuff. Play it with pop. Florence, as I've just been introduced to the blues on the flute, I am enjoying learning all these techniques. Awesome. Love to hear that. Okay. Well, let's move on to our final and fifth. This one is, again, as you get into these techniques, don't get discouraged. I know I talked about this in day one of our live stream. I talked about it again, usually all the time. Don't get discouraged when you're learning. There's some coordination things that you've got to put one in front of the other or get your timing just right. You may have one aspect of this, not the other, and the timing is the most critical part. And that's especially true with barking. And so I'm going to show you barking. I know I covered this. I've got a free 4-day embellishment walkthrough on our website. We've had thousands of flute players go through that. It's a very common technique that you hear in a lot of native flute music. And so I want to show that to you now. Typically, the way that I break this down, pops are what happens anywhere else on the flute except for all holes closed. All holes closed is typically left for the bark. Okay, and the bark, the way that I like to do it is I keep the bottom hole, keep my finger on the bottom hole, and this just helps me have a pilot or a guide, so I'm not lifting too high and then I can't find the holes again and I end up squeaking. So keep that here. The bark is broken down into a few steps. First, we have the breath that happens. Okay, you want to get it to that point. It's a pulse, a burst of breath, no tongue involved. No, my cheeks are not doing anything other than responding to the breath that is coming from my lungs, and it can't go into the flute, so it comes back. Anytime you do the bark, you don't want to be too tense in your cheeks and in your tongue. You want to be relaxed. So whatever breath doesn't go into your flute can come back to you, and it won't force it into an overblow. And the idea is not to give it a burst of breath and stop. It's not this. Don't stop. Keep going. Okay? Next thing are the fingers. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift these two, and we're not lifting them way up here. Please don't lift way high up here. Stay close to the flute. It doesn't take a lot to lift off. Coming up just a little. Now combine those two things together. And there you have the bark. So when we put all this together, the bark takes time, don't worry. Practice those things independently, breath and fingers, and then merge them together over time. Sometimes I will hear, it's usually the fact that the fingers are a little faster than the breath. And if you could view this in a cinematic slow motion, you would imagine that your breath is blowing the fingers off of the hole off those 2 holes down here. And then you have to recover, okay? So that's kind of, the breath almost comes before. You have to let the breath do its thing, and then you recover it. It happens so quickly, though. I really don't want to tell you, do this first and then that. It's really going to depend on, because some people get the breath is happening too far and then the fingers are too late. So it really depends on the individual. The bark is one of those tougher techniques. So let's put all this together. Bending notes, rocking, rolling, or rolling the tongue, shading. Okay, so all 5 of these elements help us get a really cool bluesy sound. Now, before I go into my song, this is a song. I'll introduce the song in a second. I want to show you something that may really help you with your bluesy sound. So I'm going to come over here and share my screen. Today only, I've got my blues course more than half off. So normally these courses are $47. Today only. Today is July 2nd. It is only $20. So if you click on this button, it'll take you over to the course page, and you can learn more about what all is included in that particular course. And we're going to have a lot of fun. If you like today's, kind of mini lesson, if you will, you're going to love this course. And again, I want to mention that our Horizons Plus membership, where I talked about we've got Q&As, we've got flute circles, I give private concerts, we have open mic time for students, courses, many courses, lesson modules, guest workshops. There's so much that we do inside of this. And that mini course, that blues course, is also inside of the membership. Normally the membership is $44 a month. That's US dollars. But for during this live stream, 10-day live stream, we're dropping the price for our annual rate to be $365. So it works out to be about $1 a day. Many of you are buying flutes that are $300, $400, $500. So I encourage you that instead of buying another flute, hoping that it unlocks something, what do you have in your collection that you could learn? You can grow with the instruments that you have already. And so when you get new flutes, you're able to tap into them a lot quicker. So anyway, I'll leave this page for you too to check out. There's, again, so much opportunity, community, accountability inside of Horizons. I would love to have you join us. And our live stream now is about half over as far as like days. Tomorrow we get to talk about creativity and improvisation. So be sure to stick around for that. So for those of you who have A flutes, thanks for hanging in here. I'm going to play and encourage you to play along, if you will, at home. This is a song from my first album, Transitions. I released this album in August of 2007. I think that's right. It's funny how fuzzy time gets. I released it when I was 17 years old, and that first album went on to win a couple of awards. I had no idea. I was just a kid loving music, sharing music in a way that I thought was best. And well, that's been a long time ago, and I've been doing it every day since. So love sharing music. This was my bluesy track. This one is called Blue Rocks. It's a relatively short song, under 3 minutes, but it's got a lot packed into it. So get your A flute and let's work this out. So let's see. Actually, I got a couple of comments here I want to touch on before I do that. Yeah, Mary says, loved all these sessions, but this is my favorite so far. Thank you. Really hoping your fall Phoenix masterclass dates will work out for me as a snowbird since Kalispell didn't work. Yeah, we're headed up to Montana in in 1 month to the day. Florence says, like that explanation for the bark of the breath is blowing the fingers off. It really works. Perfect. Love that. Brenda says, I've learned and grown so much joining Horizons. I can hear it. And Janine, will the other recordings of the live stream be on the Horizons Plus site? Actually, the recordings of all of these are on YouTube and Facebook. We're not gonna, once we're done with the lives, we just keep them there because we know that they have a residual impact. So they have, they'll live on YouTube. I think we still have the playlist from last year up. I need to swap that out on YouTube at this moment. And we'll have all of them on here. So let's get to making some music. This one is called Blue Rocks. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, my flute, no matter the flute, they will wet out. And I was doing some jamming out with it before our session. Lesson learned, rookie mistake. Love playing the blues. And you'll notice I worked in all of those elements of playing blues with attitude and sass into playing my flute with that track. You can do the same. Hey, thanks so much for being here today. If you have questions about flute playing, about adding flutes to your collection, about joining the membership, again, we'd love to have you. That rate is going to change, and it's going to go back to just the $44 a month at the end of this live stream. So if you're on the fence, if you're curious about it, please jump in. We also offer a 10-day free trial. If you want to come in, get your feet wet, and kind of figure out if this is for you, totally acceptable. We'd love to have you. We'd love to welcome you. There are 400 plus members strong who are eager to have more buddies to play with. So consider joining us, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Again, same time, same place. And we'll be talking a little bit more about creativity and improv And let's go down the days here. Day 7, so this will be July 4th, we're going to talk about gear. We're going to talk about ways to carry and care for your flutes. July 5th, we're going to be talking about songs that you can learn. July 6th is songwriting. This is one of the things I love the most is songwriting. So we're going to be looking at some tactics to come up with stronger melodies. And day 10, July 7th, this is the day where I get to show off some flutes in my collection that are weird and unusual, perhaps. So we'll go from there. Awesome, friends. Hey, take care. Have a great day. Again, if there's anything I can do to help you along your flute journey, please leave a comment here. Email us. You can see us at horizonsflutestore.com, horizonsfluteschool.com. The web address is just above my head here. Reach out. Always happy to help. Love having flutes in your hand, unlocking creativity in you so you can go out and it's really just the ripple effect. If I can help you with something, you can help someone else, and it just keeps rolling from there. So, with that, hope you all have a great day, and we will see you again very soon. Take care.